Natural physics is a concept astrophysicist Leroy Larry developed that explains in down-to-earth scenarios how the principles of physics could have come about from observing nature. Each episode begins with a scenario, followed by an example to illustrate the application of these principles in futuristic research at the frontiers of science, such as Leroy's astrophysics doctoral research, and then concludes with an exploration of how these same principles could have very well been used by ancient cultures and civilizations. Mathematics is naturally encountered and incorporated as the exciting and fun tool of science that it is. Science is the window into our amazing world of nature, and mathematics is the tool to open that window. Natural physics encompasses current, futuristic, and ancient physics, and ties them together by the principles of physics that are common threads running throughout each.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Leroy Larry, and welcome to the Natural Physics Experience, live from Costa Rica. Joining me again is my great fortune and pleasure to have August and Juliet Wolgemuth from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Hey, August. Hey, Juliet. All right. Now, I wanted to get back to talking about the volcanoes from last time, okay? And I got something pretty cool to show you. I'm going to show you pictures of that volcano that you saw the eruption of that I took a picture of the day after Earth Day. So same day we got Zuzu. Okay, this is the Poás volcano that we could see from where Tears and I live. And I have another picture here. Okay.
Okay.
There's a picture of the crater. And as I said, Tears and I actually went there for my 60th birthday 9 years ago. And so now check this out. I have something cool to show you. Okay. I'm going to go to here. Okay. Now, this is a live feed from some of the volcanoes here in Costa Rica. I'm gonna scoot us over here. So this is a live feed, live cameras that are videotaping what's going on in real time at the top at these volcanoes. So let's find Poás. Okay, there's Poás. So let's click on it. Okay, let's see. Okay, you can see the vapor rising, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going on right now at the Poás volcano, where I took that photograph from our balcony. Okay, all right, and you imagine how much the heat. Remember we talked about the liquid rocks that are beneath the volcano, right? That's called magma. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that, right?
Yeah.
So that is what's pushing up to the surface of the earth, and these gases are escaping out into the atmosphere, into the air. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
And you remember how hot the temperatures have to be in order to melt solid rock? Very high, huh?
Yeah.
Very high, yes. Bye, baby. Okay, Tears has just said hi. Okay, all right. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, now, August, you remember how there's a tunnel that goes up from the magma chamber where all the molten rock is up to the top and out into the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you remember how we talked about how far it is to the center of the earth and that no one has ever been to the center of the earth, right? There have been 12 humans that have walked on the moon. Okay? From Apollo 11 in 1969 to Apollo 17 in 1972. 12 people. How many astronauts went to the moon? And Juliet, this is a question for you too. How many astronauts went to the moon in Apollo 11?
3,
And how many actually walked on the moon?
12,
No, I mean in Apollo 11. Of those 3 astronauts,
2.
2. Okay. So it says that 12 humans have walked on the moon. But let me ask you this, August. How many astronauts actually went to the moon? Even though 2 out of 3 walked on the moon, how many total astronauts do you think actually made it to the moon, to orbit the moon? More than 12, right?
24?
How many?
24?
Well, let's see. 3 humans each. Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Juliet.
Here, I tell you how we figure it out, August. This is how we figure it out. Let's figure out how many Apollo missions there were that made it to the moon. Apollo 13 didn't make it. They had to turn around and come back home to Earth. But let's figure out how many Apollo missions made it to the moon. So we're going to start with what? Apollo what?
11?
And we're going to count. So Apollo 11, Apollo 12. We're going to skip Apollo 13. Apollo 14, Apollo 15, 16, and 17. So how many
3
Apollo?
times 5 is
Wait a minute.
15.
Wait, 6. So how many Apollo missions made it to the moon?
6.
And on board each of those missions, how many astronauts were there?
3
So how do we find the total number?
times them.
Let's do that, August. What do we get?
18.
6 times 3 is 18. So August, very excellent. So August, out of the 18 human beings that have ever left the Earth and went all the way to the moon, maybe, remember it takes 3 days to get to the moon with the Apollo missions. So out of those 18 people, 12 of those people actually set foot on the moon, okay? Now, I want to go to this screen, August. Remember we talked about the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, okay?
Yeah.
And it's 10,900 meters deep, okay? Now, this is how many people, August, have went down the Mariana Trench. 19 people, August. 19 human beings have went down to the deepest part of the ocean. So we have 12 people that have walked on the moon, and we have 19 people that have went to the deepest part of the ocean. Now, remember we talked about the deepest hole that's ever been built, dug in the earth, right? And it's called the Kola Super Deep Borehole, and it's in Russia. And it is 12,260 meters deep, okay? And then we asked, how far is it to the center of the earth? And it's about 6,371 kilometers. So last week, you calculated how many times more deeper that hole would have to be dug to get to the center of the earth. Do you remember how many times that was?
550 times.
Excellent, August. Excellent, excellent. All right. And as we concluded, I think I'm going to stop sharing screen for now. Yes, stop share. So August, as we concluded, we have not been very deep into the earth, have we?
Yeah.
As compared to going to the moon, as compared to going to the deepest part of the ocean. Haven't been very far into the ground. So here I come again with my mysteries right here on earth, August. We don't know a whole lot about what's down in the earth, okay?
Okay.
Now, August, when you and your family are driving, about how fast do you go? Kilometers per hour?
100
On the highway.
on the highway.
On the highway?
110 on the highway.
What's that?
110 on the highway.
Okay, so let's just say somehow there was a freeway that went straight to the center of the earth. Let's find out how long it would take y'all to drive to the center of the earth, okay?
Okay. You
got your-
need a lot of AC.
What's that?
You need a lot of AC.
A lot of AC, some serious tires, rubber that could withstand those high temperatures. Your windshield would have to be able not to crack from the pressure of being that deep in the earth. But let's just see how long it would take you to go to the center of the earth. So you got your calculator?
I'll go get it.
Okay.
Calculatrice.
What's that?
Got my calculatrice.
All righty. Okay,
I think that's how you say it in French.
What's that?
I think that's how you say it in French.
Repeat that, please.
Calculatrice.
Calculatrice. Ah,
I
okay.
think that's how you say it in French.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, how are we going to find out how long it would take you and your family to drive to the center of the earth? How will-
6,371 divided by 110.
All right, let's do that. Excellent, August. Excellent.
You should see what Google Maps is.
What's that?
My mom said you should see how many what Google Maps says. So I'll do that after I calculate it.
I don't know if they have a Google a map for going to the center of the earth. I don't know about that, August.
37.9 times
What's that?
would have go 57.9 sorry. How do I say this?
What's the unit? The unit for time? We're wanting to know how long it would take you to drive. So,
Seconds.
what?
No. Hours?
Hours. Yes, August, hours. So,
It'd take us 57.9 hours.
57, let's round that off to 58. So, and let's even round that off to 60. So it would take you about 60 hours to drive to the center of the earth. How many days, how are we going to find out how many days that would be, August?
Because it takes longer to get to like Canada.
How many hours are there in a day, August?
24.
24. So how are we going to find out how many
60
days?
divided by 24.
Excellent. Let's do that.
2.5 days.
So if you just drove straight, you didn't pull over for gas or a rest stop, right? Or want to sleep overnight somewhere. If you could just drive straight, it would take you 3 days.
I looked it up. I said the center of the earth, and it came to this somewhere in. Let me just see. It's somewhere in Egypt.
Somewhere in Egypt, huh? Okay. All right, that's what Google Maps says?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, August, what do you think about that? That it would take you 3 days to drive straight.
It's pretty cool.
Hey, how you doing there, Hamlet? Hi, Hamlet. Hamlet, what do you think that it would take? Hey, Juliet. Hamlet and Juliet and August, what do you think that it would take you 3 straight days to drive to the center of the earth without stopping? 3 days to drive that deep into the earth, driving at the speed that you travel on the freeway. What do you think about that?
It's pretty cool.
That's a long distance into the earth, isn't it? That's a long distance into the earth, isn't
Get
it?
to Saskatchewan with that amount of time.
What's that?
We can't even get to Saskatchewan with that amount of time.
Really? Nobody knows what's at the center of the earth, August. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
And that modern scientists, here, let's do this. Actually, we'll share screen, but let me say that modern scientists think that there's a molten core at the center of the earth, which is why the earth has a magnetic field. So, and August, there's been a lot of, but scientists really don't know. They don't know really what's at the center of the earth. And there's been a lot of Hollywood movies about going to the center of the earth, okay? So I found, I'm gonna do a share screen, and I found this cool page that shows the posters of some of these movies, okay? Now, let's see, the original one, which is 1959, let's bring it up.
Oh, it looks like Star Wars.
If I can move this up. Okay, so here's the original poster. This is from 1959, August. Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's a classic movie. I've watched it many times when I was a kid and as an adult as well. Okay. I thought what would be good was to get an idea of the distances that are involved in how far we as human beings have been into outer space, down into the deepest part of our oceans, and the deepest that we've been into the ground, into the earth. So you calculated going at, I think, 110 kilometers per hour on the freeway to drive to the center of the earth. It would take you how long? You and your family?
2 days, 2.5 days.
Almost
So
3 days.
Yeah.
Almost 3 days, and that's without stopping, right? That's just going straight. Not stopping to get gas, pulling over to sleep overnight somewhere and taking a rest. Straight driving. 3 days to drive to the center of the earth. Okay, now I thought what we would do, just for comparison, let's go back to people being at the deepest part of the ocean. And let's see how long it would take for you and your family to drive. Let's just say you had an automobile that could drive down into the ocean. Let's see how long it would take for you and your family traveling at 110 kilometers per hour, drive to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Okay, so the deepest part of the ocean, August, is 10,900 meters. Okay? So, given that amount of distance, how will you calculate how long it will take your family to drive to the bottom of the Mariana Trench?
10.9 kilometers.
Okay, 10.9 kilometers. All right. So now we have the distance. The distance to the bottom of the Mariana Trench is 10.9 kilometers. And you have your speed, right? Your velocity, which is 110 kilometers per hour, right? So what are you gonna do,
And
August?
it would only take us 0.09.
0.09 hour. That's how long it would take. Now, to make sense out of that, let's find out how many minutes that is. So if we got a number of 0.09 hours, in order to convert that to minutes, so we can kind of make sense of that, what's the number you think we would have to multiply the 0.09 to get from hours to minutes?
Divided by 60.
Multiplied by 60, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's multiply 0.09 times 60.
5.4 minutes.
5.4 minutes. So,
And then divide that again to do it with 60
yeah, well, so August,
to get seconds.
if you were able to drive your family 110 kilometers per hour to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it would take you how many minutes was that?
324 seconds.
How many minutes is that?
5.4.
About 5 minutes. And of course, we realized that the submarines that took the, what was it, 17 people? I think
19.
what was it?
19, I think.
Let me check. Let's check. 19, you're right. Excellent, August. So, August, the submarines that took these 19 human beings to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, they were going much slower than 110 kilometers per hour, right?
Yeah.
So yes, but again, if you and your family were able to drive, it would take about 5 minutes. So we have 5 minutes to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. We have how long to go to the center of the earth? Do you remember?
3 days.
3 days. All right. The last thing, let's see how long it would take to drive to where the deepest hole in the earth has been found. So I'm going to do a share, has been dug rather. The deepest hole that's ever been built, the deepest hole that's ever been dug is equal to 12,262 meters, okay? So let's find out how long it would take you and your family traveling at 110 kilometers per hour to drive to the furthest of where human beings have been into the surface, down deep below the surface of the earth, okay? Okay, what's the distance that you're using?
Kilometers.
And what is that number?
12.2.
12.2 kilometers. What is the velocity you're using, your speed?
110
110 what?
kilometers
Kilometers what?
per hour.
Per hour. Okay, so you're dividing what number by what number to get the time?
12.2 divided by 110.
Okay, so do that, August.
0.11
And what do you think?
hours.
Excellent. 0.11 hour. Okay, so let's find out how many minutes that is, August. What's the number we're going to multiply 0.11 to go from hours to minutes?
60.
So let's do that, August. Excellent.
6.6 minutes.
Okay. So it would take 6.6 minutes for you and your family to drive to the deepest, down to the bottom of the deepest hole that so far has been dug by humans in Earth. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing screen. Okay. Okay, August. So let's do a end-to-end comparison. We just found out that it would take how long for you and your family traveling at 110 kilometers per hour to drive from the surface of the earth to the deepest hole that's ever been dug into the ground of the earth? How long?
6.6 minutes.
6.6 minutes. Okay. Do you remember how long it would take for you and your family to drive to the center of the earth? Remember? To the center of the earth. That's a whole lot further than the deepest hole that's ever been dug, and deeper than the Mariana Trench.
Oh.
Remember? Without stopping to get gas. You remember how long that took?
Thinking.
Okay. Driving straight. You can't stop overnight. You got to keep going.
3 days.
3 days, right. 3 days. So there you have it, August. You got the comparison that it would take for you and your family to go to the center of the earth, to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and to the deepest hole that's been dug into the ocean. What do you think about that?
That's pretty cool. Time times distance. No,
Okay, what is it?
Time times speed
Is equal to what? Is equal to what?
Distance.
Is equal to what?
Distance.
So say that again. What's your equation then?
Time times speed equals distance.
Excellent, August. Excellent. Distance
That's
is
a
equal,
tongue twister.
distance is equal to velocity times time. Okay, so that's the physics equation we used to get those numbers for how long it would take you and your family to drive to those 3 different spots. Okay, and the last thing I want to do, just for a comparison, because we could calculate this, but I thought it'd be fun just to, let's do a share screen. To drive to the moon at a speed of
10.9 days.
What's that?
10.9 days.
That's right. 10.9.
So that's about 11 days.
That's right, about 11 days. Okay. So that's how long it would take to drive to the moon. How long would it take to drive to the center of the earth?
3 days.
3 days. Excellent, August. How long would it take to drive to the bottom of the ocean?
5 minutes.
Okay. This is the theory that scientists have of what the center of the earth looks like. The core, the inner core. And you have the different levels: outer core, mantle, upper mantle, and crust, right? But again, no one has ever been to the center of the earth, okay? No one, right? The furthest that they've been, as you saw, is that hole that's been dug in Russia. And that's it, okay? So now, here's the first one, August. This is from 1959. This is the movie poster, Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is a classic. And then 1989, 30 years later, this movie came out, 1989. I have never seen this one. And then in 2008, another movie about traveling to the journeying to the center of the earth. And this one is in 3D. So I haven't seen that one either, but must be pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing screen. Okay, August. So you kind of see the distances that have been involved in human beings. The furthest we've been in outer space is to the moon. The furthest we've been into the ocean is at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The deepest hole we've ever dug into the earth is that hole in Russia, okay? And the other one is what, August? What's the other one that we just found out about?
The one to the center of the earth.
Excellent, August. Okay, and we saw movies that have been made about theoretically human beings ever being able to go to do that. Okay. Do you have any questions, August?
Nope.
Okay. All right, August. Well, and again, we use the fundamental equation of physics. Distance is equal to velocity times time to get an idea of those numbers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, August. Well, no questions, huh?
Nope.
All righty then,
Let's see.
everyone. Tune in next week. Same fat time, same fat channel. Okie dokie.